Hi everybody, how we doing? Jo here, so you know what that means. Grab yourself a brew. Are we having a cheeky biscuit today? Don't know, I think we've reserved it. It's Friday. If you're joining me, well, on Friday, it's Friday. It's a daft thing to say, isn't it? You know what I'm like. Today we're going to have a bit of a play with a lovely Lavinia stencil and some stamps. In fact, one of the new stamps, the Lilium stamps. So I hope you've got a suitable beverage and you can come on in, pull up a chair, sit in my craft room with me and let's have a play. How have things been going? How have you got on since we last had a catch up? Okay, I hope. It's always interesting to know when you watch these videos. It's lovely when I find out some of you watch them with your coffee, some lunchtime, some even watch of an evening. That does worry me though, if you watch me before you go to bed. I hope it doesn't mean I'm boring and I send you to sleep. Although I have to say my husband would probably agree with you there. So it is interesting though. It's lovely when you all put comments, and I must admit, thank you also for your lovely comments. And it is nice when you subscribe. Our little family on here is growing every day. Honestly, I get such a buzz when I see that. So thank you for that. Today we're going to do something similar. I say similar because you know what I'm like, I might wander off a bit. I came up with this design. I just fancied something a bit fun today, a bit bright. I'm really into purple and yellow at the minute. It's not a colour combination I would normally use, and sometimes I think it's good to just go for something a bit fresh, a bit different. We're going to be using our stencil in the background. So let's begin. I'm going to put my card just out of shot, but so I can see it. Now this actually is a 7x7 card blank, because I know sometimes you ask. So this is a 7x7. So the piece of card I'm using is 16 centimetres square, just so I've got a tiny bit of black matte and layer. But again, I could put my black Sharpie line round if I wanted. So, as I say, this is going on a 7x7, but you could always put it on an 8x8. I just find 7x7, it's a nice size. It's a nice, larger size. So I almost feel the person I'm sending it to knows it's a proper card, but it's not too big to post. Now, I'm going to use a stencil, and this one's called Elegance. Now, I must just say, a few ladies and gents have asked, oh, there's a little area there that needs popping out, have asked about stencils and how to store them. Now, I've got to admit, sorry, I've just seen a little one here that hasn't popped out, so I'll have to do that while I'm talking. Yeah, they ask how you store stencils. Now, again, different people, you know what I say, it's a bit like techniques. Different people store them different ways. And if you, there we go, that's done. If you find a way that suits you, that's great. You can get folders, but for me, because I do workshops, if I've got them in folders, I'd have to take the whole folder or slide the stencil out. So what I've done, my lovely friend Sally gave me this idea, and these are some little plastic pockets you can buy. I've got to be honest, I just got mine from Amazon. But stationery shops, if you've got a local stationery shop you use, maybe see if they've got them. But I just find it useful because what you've got to watch with stencils is any bits that stick out. You don't want to catch them. And if you put your stencils together, these bits can catch. So this is so easy. And then I just have mine in an A4 box together, and I can just flick through and just have a look. I mean, you could even print the name, couldn't you? I just quickly wrote it on. It was easy for me. But I've got to be honest, this is, for me, dead easy, in and out. That's the way I'm going to go. So if that helps you, if you've already got a good system, by all means go with that. And what we're going to do is start off with the background, and I'm going to use two colours of oxide, the wilted violet and the mustard seed. Now, this technique is one that we've done before where we've cleaned our stencil, but today I'm actually going to use it as a technique. And actually, so I'm going to apply the ink straight to the stencil, direct to stencil, the lighter colour first, and then I'm going to come in with my wilted violet and add a little bit of this. Now, don't worry if it contaminates. These are felt ink pads. Now, I would get rid of that by either direct to paper for a background, or I'm actually going to be painting with this. So once I put it on my craft mat, that'll take that yellow off. It won't do it any harm whatsoever. Right, and what I'm going to do is Let's give that a bit of a wipe. Now, normally you would do this trick, as I say. I mean, you could even put some ink through your stencil and then do it as the clean-up. Got my piece of card, and just off camera, I'm going to spritz this with water just over the back of Eric. He likes a good spritz. And I'm just going to bring that in and pop it down. Quite nice. One lady messaged me the other day and asked for a photo of Eric, so that was lovely. So obviously he's my black Labrador, not my husband or my son, just in case you're wondering. So when I say Eric's laid at my feet, it's because he's my crafty companion. Now we're just going to press this, and if you want to have a little look, oh wow, look at that. Now in fact, what I might do is, oh, look at that. I love this technique. I just could do this again and again, but often I find the second one. So have I got a spare bit of paper? I wasn't sure if I'd got one, and I'll just give it a little spritz more. And often the second one, I'm going to put this at an angle. The second one for me isn't quite as in your face, but often you get a lovely, lovely. I mean, you know, if you're having one of those days where your mojo's a bit and you really don't know what to do, maybe get some of your stencils out and have a go at doing this, because it is such a lovely thing to do. And often when you've made yourself some backgrounds, look at that. That will spark your imagination to then create. If I just bring that a bit closer. Now, I've got to be honest, at the minute, we've got Easter weekend next weekend, and quite often ladies and gentlemen struggle with, oh, I haven't got any specific Easter stamps. You know, if you had a sentiment, you could just mat and layer that, couldn't you, and put Happy Easter. And maybe a tulip or a daffodil or hyacinth, you know, one of the flowers that's out at the minute on there. I mean, for me, it's a win-win. Beautiful. So what I'm going to do is just, I don't think we've got a third on there, although I dare say you could try. So we'll just give it a bit of a clean. Like I say, it's often good just to try a different technique. And it's nice to use your stencils in all, I mean, we use them on our gel press, we put ink through them, we can do the ghosting technique, oh, so many things. Right, so we'll put Elegance back in there. How easy is that? I'll file it on the floor. Now what I've done is I've got a background that's dry, just because I'm going to stamp on it, so it is better if the background is actually dry. But look, so look at those two. And again, I love this one because I could have it either way, look. I don't know which. I mean, each one, that one I think looks nicer that way, and that one that way. Isn't it funny? Right, now that's the wet one. I need to put that there. So this one's dry. And what we're going to do now is just stamp our lovely new stamp. So this one's called Lilium. And there's a Lilium set and the Lilium. So I'm just going to, got my stamping mat. Again, move my work out of the way. Don't put my block on it. And I'm just going to ink up in black. This background, as I say, if you make a few of these, and then you can decide what to put on top of them. Now, I've just got a little bit of ink. Oh, do you know what? I'm having one of those days today. Got to be honest, I didn't sleep well last night. My throat's playing me up again at the minute. But I'm not moaning, because I know a lot of you struggle. A lot of you have ill health. So honestly, it's just, I always find if I've not slept well, do you know, little things go wrong. But hey ho, it's what happens, isn't it? Now I could place this in the middle, but I like to just off-centre things a little, so we'll just go for there. And again, I'm doing it on the side just because that's easier for me. It's just the way my head works. We had a lovely day yesterday. It was our youngest son, Mikey. He turned 30 yesterday, so that was quite an event. So it had to be a socially distancing birthday, bless him. Luckily, his fiancée decorated their house and got him some balloons because obviously, you know, no parties, no time with friends. So I think we're getting used to these Zoom birthdays, aren't we? Luckily, I sent some cakes in the post, found a company that would deliver birthday cakes with his age on, so, and his name, so, right, give that a good, and I do love this stamp, look at that. Now I'm going to stamp the lovely little pound butterfly. As you know, I love my pound stamps. Just cut that at the top. Oh, I've just dropped my cloth on the floor. Oh, I told you it was one of those days. This would be one of those days if I came round for a coffee where you wouldn't trust me, you know, where I'd probably knock it over. It's funny how we have those days, isn't it? So we'll put the butterfly on. And then I think I might leave this without a word. I'm not sure. No, let's put a word on. Now, I've got this lovely set. It's called Inspire Me. Now, I've got Dream, Inspire, Art and Love. I do like Inspire. I think we'll go for Inspire again. I was going to put a different word on, but I think Inspire is such a good, well, inspirational word. Oh, I do say some silly things at times. But again, quite often I leave my cards without sentiments, so that if, I mean, again, this is an ideal card. You could use this for birthdays, for best wishes, I mean, even new home, Easter. So I'm just going to put Inspire, and I'm stamping it directly on there. Lovely. Now I'm going to leave that to dry. Again, our VersaFine Claire is a slower drying ink, and we're going to decoupage these flower heads. So what I want to do is grab myself a piece of card, and I'll just stamp the flower heads again. And again, I'm using black. And we don't need the stalk on this, we just need those lovely heads. It's nice because they've got the pattern on them. You can add colour, but almost you could leave them black and white. And then I'm going to stamp the butterfly again. I've got to be honest, quite often when I do this on scrap pieces of card, I will stamp the flower 3 or 4 times just because, but I just love it in black and white. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Right, that's all my stamping done. So I'm going to move my mat out of the way. And if you'll excuse me, I just want to have a little sip of water. Now, I'm going to add some colour here, but I almost want the quick, you know, a bit of quick colouring. So like I say, I'm just going to put some of my purple oxide on my mat, and that'll help just clean my ink pad as well. And then with my paintbrush, which is in my water pot, I'm just going to add quickly some basic colour. And I do this quite a lot, as you know. I find if I use pencil, sometimes I get pencil marks. I'm not a fan of alcohol markers, although I know a lot of people are. So if you are, by all means, use that. You use whatever you're comfortable with. I did find when I tried my Inktense pencils, they were almost too powerful. I don't want to obliterate this lovely pattern, you see. So what I'm going to do now is go in with the ink that hasn't got as much water in it here, so it's a little bit darker, just to build up, look, a little bit of shade. And as I say, for me, this is just such a lovely, quick way. But I'm going to come in with my pencils on top of this, so I don't need to do too much, so that's fine for me. And then we'll just clean that up. And then, as you know, I like to use, and I've actually got the box here because I know a lady messaged me and asked me what make they were, and I still haven't worked out how to add a product list. I'm sorry, I will try and work it out. But honestly, I'm a real dinosaur with IT. It's taken me all my time to actually do these videos, so please just bear with me. But these are by Stabilo. And the box I've got is 36 chalk pastel pencils. So this is the box. And I just find them such a lovely, lovely product to use. But again, whatever you've got, whatever you're happy with. But what I have found is I've got one here. That one's just a little bit wet. It's better to just let it dry a couple of minutes. So I'll throw that over there, put it to one side. Except I need the butterfly, don't I? Bring it back. Come on, girl. So I've got a purple and a yellow, and all I'm going to do is add, and this is where I want a bit of shade. So at the base of the flower, I know I'll have shade, but also here, I'm going to have shade there. And where any petal that's behind, you'll have that area of shade, won't you? Now again, you can use, if you've got your biodegradable cotton bud, you can use one of those, or you can use these are Pergamano blending nibs, and these work really well. Or if all else fails, you can use your finger just to blend a bit of that colour in, and you would do that on all 3 flowers. And then what I've done is just brought the yellow in at the top as a highlight. Often we use white for highlight, but I thought, no, for this I wanted almost to bring a spring. It was actually looking at hyacinths that sort of gave me this yellow and purple combination. I do get a lot of my inspiration from nature. I love watching the birds feeding in the garden. So I would do all, if I bring that closer, can you see that? Almost, I must admit, I'm just looking up on my iPad, that almost looks like an iris, isn't it? Because you do get iris that are sort of purple and yellow. And then we've got the butterfly here. So all I did for the butterfly was literally added a tiny bit of the purple, and I didn't even watercolour underneath. I just simply did that. And I wanted a little bit of white area. So like I say, whether you wanted to leave these at this stage or whether you wanted to take them to this stage, totally up to you. That's the beauty of this. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing, and you take whatever parts of this you want. Now I have cut these out, you'll be glad to know. You don't have to watch me fussy cut them. So I've cut them out ready, and I've just shaped them a little, just in my hands. Now where's our piece? Now if I put these on here, look, for me they don't stand out as much as I'd like them to, so I just want to make them stand out a little bit more. And if we look at our finished one, quite often I use black, I use charcoal to give shade to make things pop, but I just thought with this I still want to be able to see this lovely stencil work underneath, and I almost wanted to make it brighter. I just feel I need, you know, some cheering up and some brightness. Now, you might not like this, you might want to go with the darker, again, which is fine. I just think it's nice to try different things. I just want to ground, first of all, my flower. I have a thing about floating flowers. Again, if you can leave yours, it's totally up to you. Again, it's one of those funny little quirks I've got. So I just want to ground my flower. And this is just with a black charcoal, not a lot, and I'll just smudge it to set it. And to me, that just looks so much better. To add my highlight, what I thought I'd do is come in with my pan pastels. And what I love at the minute is I'm really trying to use all my different products together. Now this one, I've got to be honest, is called Dairy Lied Yellow. And if I lift it up, Dairy Lied, I think that's how you say it, yellow. Now I do use this an awful lot, I've got to be honest. In fact, you can see I've worn quite a bit of it down here. And I find these blending tools brilliant to use. Now, I'm going to go round, but because I'm decoupaging the butterfly, I almost want to go a little bit on the butterfly as well, and it saves me colouring underneath. So I'm going to do the same with my Lilium, look. And I'm going to go round the whole thing And again, it doesn't take long, this, but it just adds that, I think, this lovely glow. And you don't need too much. Remember your pastel, it's a loose powder, and you don't want to overload your applicator. A, because it's wasteful, but B, it'll just be too thick. And, you know, you've paid for this. You don't want to waste it. You don't want it's your money. So just one swipe, that's all you need. You don't have to rub vigorously. So let's come down here. And you see how, for me, again, just one swipe, it really brightens up this hole. But because we've got the yellow and purple in the background, although it's gone quite beigey where they've mixed, I'm just going to add a hint of yellow onto that. I know we've got the black charcoal, but just add a hint across there. There we go. I've got to be honest, I think that if I bring the black underneath, you know, to frame it, oh, I'm happy with that. Now, obviously, people keep asking about pan pastels, and yes, you can set them. You can use a fixative, a spray fixative, or a hairspray, but it can change the colour. For this small amount, I've got to be honest, I wouldn't, but what I would do is get a cotton pad, and I'm just literally going to wipe, and I'm just taking the excess pastel off. So on here, this is just, and I'm rubbing, and it just takes, it smudges it a little, which I'm happy with, but it takes off that excess, so you're not going to get, there's very little coming off now on my hands. Now, the next thing, the word inspire, I want it to stand out a little bit more. So I'm just going to come in with my fine liner, and again, just loosely do this. I've got to be honest, I don't use a ruler, and I find almost wiggly lines work better. If I try to do one straight line, it won't be straight. So I don't think about it, and I just put some little dots, some wiggles. Again, there we go. And you can practice that on paper if you wish. Now again, another lady recently asked me how I mat and layer my cards. She's new to crafting, and I'm really sorry, I can't remember your name. I should really write them down, and that's very remiss of me. So if I show you, at this stage, I would mat mine onto my black card and onto my card blank. Now, lots of ways of doing that. For me, I use finger lift, double-sided tape. But again, lots of people you will find your own product that you use. Some people use wet glue. I use a combination of double-sided tape and wet glue, simply because for me it's belt and braces. I'm covering all eventualities. And what I would do then, like my mat, if I bring this in, I take off my middle piece, but then these pieces I just turn over. So I go all the way around, and because it's finger lift, look, what finger lift means is that the glue in the middle doesn't go right to the edges. So some tapes you would have to take your scissors and try and flick, but here, because there's no glue, so although your tape is narrower than this, look, either side, it's so quick, and I just find it easier for me to use. And I also have a wet glue, and what I would do is just pop some wet glue there. And then this way, I've got, sometimes, especially if, say, birthdays, Christmas, if somebody was to put your card on a windowsill near a radiator, sometimes your tape can dry out and you don't want your topper falling off. So this way, we've got the wet glue and the tape. Now this, because we've done this with the tape, it gives us a little bit of wiggle room. Now, sorry, you might see my head coming over. But what I need to do is just get this in the middle. And I can just wiggle it until I need it down a little. There we go. I think that's in the middle. Then, once I'm happy with it, I can press it down, and then I can slide my tape out, look, and that will glue. Slide this side and glue. Slide this side. Bit of tape there we go. And then that's how I would then do the same and put that on a card blank. And I would do all that before adding my decoupage elements. So I'm actually going to put this in my journal, so I'm not going to attach it to a card, but I would do the same, put my tape on and use my wet glue. So let's pretend it's on my card blank. Now my wet glue of choice I use is one called Pinflair. It's a glue gel. It's totally up to you, whatever. I mean, you could use foam pads. You could actually put it flat if you wanted. I mean, I've got to be honest, I quite like this, just left like that. I think that looks stunning. But the fact that I've coloured these in, I'm going to add them. But it's lovely because I do find watching other people work, you know, if it gives you inspiration, and that's what this is all about, it's sharing time together, but also to give inspiration. And, you know, if you want to copy it totally, that's fine. If you want to take inspiration and leave it like this, again, that's fine. I mean, we do have on Facebook the Lavinia for You Facebook group. And if you have a go at something like this, do tag me in, please, because I'd love to see what you do. Now, again, I'm just going to slide that on. And with these, what I tend to do is put a larger piece of the glue in the middle, the glue gel, and then I just have a little bit round the sides, which is why I use this lovely little tool, just because I want it to glue at the sides, but I want it to be thicker in the middle so it's a bit more prominent. So that one, isn't it? Better get it on the right one. So it just adds that bit of shape. This little one almost looks a bit like a crocus. Again, I don't know if that's just because I've got spring flowers in my mind. So, but it won't be spring with everybody, will it? Our lovely friends in Australia, New Zealand, are you going into autumn now? Must admit, I think our clocks changed this weekend. I need to be mindful of that. There we go. Oh, the butterfly. Yeah. I think it just finishes it off decoupaging. And again, because I've stamped the butterfly, when I've cut it out, look, I don't need to cut those fiddly antennae because they're on my design, aren't they? So I can just actually cut the body and the wings. Now, with the Pinflair, you don't want to introduce glue. So you just put your tube until your glue's at the end and put your lid on. And that way it won't be solid. Anybody who's let the air into it and come back to it will know it goes solid. So we're nearly done. A couple of little finishing tricks. So if you've got a white pen, just add a couple of white, just check it's yet, a couple of white highlights. Now again, I should have really done this before I decoupaged it, shouldn't I? There we go, there's my top tip. Yeah, do as I say, not as I do. I don't want to overcook it. Don't want to add too many. Maybe just a couple on here, that'd look nice. Maybe just one above here. Now, oh, we'll just put a little bit on his body. Yeah, that just breaks that up a little. Now, my last little thing is to add some splats of the Posca. And as you know, I love doing this. If you don't want to do this again, if you want to leave this at this stage, by all means do. On the original, I added purple. So for this one, I'm going to go with yellow. Now, again, it's got a ball bearing in, and this is the large nib. So again, this is the PC5M, and this is a bullet shaped. But because it's got a ball bearing in, give it a good shake. And then I'm just going to add some nice arty, and I just want a couple on the Lilium. Now, you can use a ruler and hit it with a ruler if you'd rather, like this. What I find then is you get smaller speckles, which are nice, but I want a couple of bigger speckles. So I actually want to shake it, look, I want a couple of those. That's it, I don't want too many. No pizzas, I have to remember that. And then just give this a wipe in case there's any stray Posca, which usually there is. And there we go. As I say, quite often we do them in white, but I just felt for this, I thought we'd try the yellow. But bring the original one in for you. I'm just going to see if we're in shot. So the original one I used my purple Posca, and this one I've used the yellow, just to see the difference, see which you prefer. But I just thought it was a lovely spring. I'm sure it's maybe just seeing the crocuses that's made me think of these colours, or the hyacinths. But a nice spring design for you. I'd love you to have a go at the background and let me know what you think. So I'm off now. Got a workshop tomorrow, a Lavinia workshop. We're looking at perspective tomorrow. So I'll let you know next week how that goes. It's really good when you're doing landscapes and you want to look at perspective and how you get distance and foreground. So that should be good. I'm looking forward to spending time with the ladies and gentlemen. So you take care, everybody. I hope you have a lovely weekend. And thanks for all your support. And thanks for your comments. They mean the world to me. So you take care. Much love and hugs. Bye for now.